Hey, welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus on this windy Tuesday, August 25th. 107 in the afternoon, and temperatures outside in the 70s to low 80s, and we've got northwest winds gusting up to 30. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with our Ag Director, Bridgette Readel. And Bridgette, last night we had some severe weather to the north of the FM area and also to the southwest down around the Oaks and Ellendale area. That Oaks-Ellendale area, those seem to be kind of a target zone the last few rounds of storms. It seems like where we've missed out here in the FM area. Unfortunately, we could. I know we don't want the severe weather, but they got about an inch to an inch and a half of rain down to our south and west.
I think there was a number of places that did. Wishock had in town about an inch and a half, but just to the west of town, 8 miles, less than a tenth.
Right.
Winds up to 77 miles an hour. It was probably around 60 miles an hour down towards Ashley. So there's a lot of stuff moving around. We noticed once again, it split before it got to Trail and Northern Cass County. Mm-hmm. Many of us up here had nothing recorded.
Yeah, the areas that need it the most, unfortunately, did not receive hardly a drop at all. And there is some good news, because as we turn the corner into September, it does look like a little more active weather pattern, hopefully a little more rain. All of our models are indicating over the next 10 days, up to an inch, some spots a little bit more. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but at this point, again, we will kind of take what we can get. But it's a windy afternoon out there this afternoon. We've got, again, those winds gusting up to 30 out of the northwest. And we've got some clouds moving in from the northwest. We will see a little bit of a light shower activity in the far northern valley, right up along the U.S.-Canadian border into northwest Minnesota. The rest of us remaining dry, though, with highs in the lower 80s. And again, those breezy conditions out of the northwest will calm the winds down overnight tonight. And we'll see lows in the lower 60s. And for your Wednesday, mostly sunny, still a little bit of a breeze out of the northwest, 10 to 20, and highs in the low 80s. And we'll stay in the low 80s for Thursday and Friday before warming things up on Saturday into the mid to upper 80s. And as we push some of that warmer area in, we could have a little bit of shower and thunderstorm activity Friday night into Saturday morning, but the rest of the weekend looks like it should remain dry with temperatures in the 80s. And this weather has been brought to you by the Hot Tub and Sauna Store in West Fargo. Discover the wellness you deserve at the Hot Tub and Sauna Store. You could sink into a brand new Caldera spa, hot tubs that are built for pure comfort. They're super efficient energy use and easy saltwater maintenance. Imagine coming home every night to that perfect daily soak. Great for your health. If you have back issues, great for that. It's also great for sleep as well. Or you can step into a Finleo sauna. You could train, detox, and truly relax right at home. The Hot Tub and Sauna Store next to Costco in West Fargo. And I'll tell you what, Bridgette, I was taking a look at some of our long-range models, and they keep with the above-normal temperature regime through the first week in September through Labor Day. And then, again, but it looks like a wetter-than-normal pattern developing as we head into September. So we can only hope that this holds through, that we do start to increase our moisture around here. But we're getting very strong signals that definitely should be the case as we turn the corner into September, which is starting next week.
Well, we appreciate the fact that everyone who joins us here on Weather and Ag in Focus, brought to us by TCG Wheat, gets the opportunity to make a phone call when they have questions, when they want to report their weather situations, when they want to visit with us and our guests that are on air. And you can do that on the JLA Insurance phone line. You can reach us at 701-293-9000. We're actively taking your emails, ag or weather at flagfamily.com. And if you just want to watch the show, make it like a TV show. You can do that thanks to Lighthouse Commodities. They have us on our live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Acres TV. And maybe I should knock on wood. Those live streams have actually been running pretty well the last couple of weeks, and that is a surprise. I probably just jinxed it, and Addison's like, stop talking. I don't even want anybody to think about it going badly over here. Now, weather-wise, when we have dry conditions like this, we often start to see more insect pressure than we would in wetter years. Now, that not only accounts for the fact that we've got mosquitoes that are currently at their peak of carrying West Nile virus. I mean, this is the time of the year, and it's the dry conditions that if West Nile is going to be coming from mosquitoes. We'll be seeing it now more than ever. It's just that particular variety that shows up. Gall midge has been detected once again as well in soybeans. Last we saw it was in 2022, and we found it down around the Hankinson area, and it's back. So we haven't seen a lot of gall midge in soybeans, but it does poke up every so often. Since about 2011, we've watched more gall midge in recent years across Minnesota, South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, and Missouri. What happens when gall midge occurs in a field? Well, that's an infestation where the gall actually is like the little puffy, it's almost like a goiter on a soybean plant, is a good way to describe it. And when the midge emerges, it goes ahead and lays its egg on cracks in a soybean plant stem. So then the first of that larvae will emerge after the eggs hatch, and they start feeding on the soybean, and they really just deplete the energy of the plant and are yield robbing. It's nice to know we haven't had them as of the last few years. It's unfortunate that we are starting to see an uptick and that they are coming back. One of the things to consider is that with gall midge, we don't have ways to control it as far as insecticides. We don't have something that's useful in that arena as of yet, but work continues to be done, particularly when you think about the other states that are having much higher infestations than we are here in North Dakota. So it'll be an interesting lesson to watch as to what might change for us when it comes to what we can do in the future for gall midge. And one of the things that I read just this morning that's going on as far as in the grain business, Ukraine has once again been hammering Russia's Black Sea port cities, and that put two major grain terminals out of action as of late. And that really raises fears of global market disruption due to supplies. Those Russian strikes on ships in the Black Sea have drastically reduced grain shipments coming out of Ukraine. And there's also the fact that when you look at Ukraine as a major grain exporter, that has been cutting those shipments by about 75% just in the first couple of weeks of August and moving into this later half. Now, there are proposals that were given to U.S. negotiators for a plan to end the whole conflict, but we know that that hasn't happened as of yet. What other items are happening in the grain arena? And we want to talk about small grains right now, primarily because we just wrapped up that harvest and we've seen some changes in the marketplace. India, also a similar spot in that region we were just talking about in the globe. India is one of the world's largest wheat producers, and they have scrapped a years-long ban on exports of the grain, a move that could potentially ease global supply that are currently under strain due to all the attacks happening between Ukraine and Russia. The government has permitted wheat exports with an immediate effect, and the change also includes durum as well as flour and other products, and builds on a decision by the government that was made back in February to allow limited shipments. Wheat exports from that country have been prohibited since about 2022, and that was the year that Russia invaded Ukraine. Supplies have improved in the years since, with USDA having forecasted India's domestic stockpiles to end the current season at a record level. So just when you thought you knew what was going to happen in the grain market, you just could be surprised by a couple of curveballs that are going on out there. Other items that are happening in the news, cover crops. Really a talking point that we've had more and more frequently in the last couple of years. Probably in the last 15, I have had more folks asking questions about cover crop than we ever have before. First of all, what's a cover crop? Well, there's some ways to define that. Are you looking to prevent some erosion, perhaps wind and water erosion? Planting those cover crops can hold that soil in place, and maybe it's a clover, maybe it is a grass mixture that you might be using. Do you have compaction in the field where you're concerned about the heavy traffic areas such as your headlands, and you're having to use field turnips that can grow down into that clay pan and break up the compaction that you find in that soil layer? That could be an opportunity for a cover crop. But if you plant your cover crop and you don't have an idea of what you're going to do throughout the season, you're going to run into trouble. Some cover crops are cool weather, some are hot weather. Know which is which and when you want to be planting them. We're looking at cool weather cover crops. Is that something you want to be planting this fall? Looking ahead till the spring. What's your goal? Are you trying to hold moisture? Are you looking for a cover crop that in fact can synthesize its own nitrogen and make sure to leave something back in to replenish the nitrogen source in the soil? And then have a termination plan. Because when you get to the end of the growing cycle with that cover crop, you don't want it to be competing against your cash crop. Do you have a way to terminate it, whether it is with tillage or with herbicides? And if you don't have a plan, that's going to leave you high and dry later on in the spring when you want to get back to your cash crop. And the big deal is making sure that you do it at the right stage, that you don't wait too long before trying to do that termination and then have an ineffectual control.
And
Just a
Bridgette,
few reminders.
with the drought conditions, do you think there will be less cover crop or more cover crop planted this year,
I think it
or doesn't
depends
it
on your,
matter?
it's going to depend on your soil type
Okay.
and what's your optimism. Do you feel that planting a cover crop, it's going to come up and establish itself before a freeze up? And that way we have snow coming this winter and it's going to hold the snow for us?
Mm-hmm.
Are you looking to use it as a cheaper way to add organic matter and nitrogen into the soil? Those are the things you're probably going to have to weigh out on a cash basis.
Okay.
Alrighty, let's go take a little listen to the livestock report from the American Ag Network. When we return, we're going to be joined by Brad Olstad. He's with the Steffes Group for On the Auction Block, coming up next. Oh, those chants bring us back to the On the Auction Block with Steffes group. We do this every month with Brad Olstad from Steffes because we need to know what's happening in the auction market, especially for machinery. And so, Brad, I had this as a listener question the other day. All right, I might have a few things I want to sell, but I don't have enough to have my own auction. How can I become part of a consignment auction? Do you handle that? Do I get all my neighbors together to do an auction? How does that work?
Well, that's a good question. I tell you, the first thing that would do is to call our office, and we'd come out and visit and see what kind of items that you have to sell. We run 2 programs a month. It's called our bi-monthly online sale, and we can have the items at your location, or you can bring them into our interstate lot. It was just west of the Wood River Valley Fairgrounds, or you can bring them to our 2000 East Main office too. We have about 10 acres there. We get them staged, we get them photographed, and we can sell them right there. So as far as the neighbors, just have them call the office, and we'll gladly take care of them. We can offer that. So
Big or small, right? You're going to find something that fits as far as where that item should go on what auction.
that is true. You know, sometimes like our bi-monthly sale that closes tomorrow, we're going to be selling $300,000 tractors all the way down to $250 lawnmowers. So we have something for everyone. We have 3 rings. We have truck transportation. We have the ag side. We have small construction. We also do a construction auction too. So we have a lot of auctions and a lot of tools in the toolbox to help you out.
I hate to say it, but I feel like maybe lawnmower sales as of late have been a little quiet with what's been going on in the neighborhood.
That is an understatement, especially here in the Red River Valley. Now you get a little bit north and west, that's a different story. So,
You know, when we talk, you have a background in farming as well as your extensive experience as an auctioneer. Were you planning that? Were you planning to farm and the auctioneering kind of got in the way, or was it the other way around?
you know, I started back when I was in high school listening to my Uncle Bob Steffes. So it's been a childhood. Get to go to the sale barns in West Fargo, got to hear him sell. And it was just something that stuck with me. So when I was going to high school in Page, North Dakota, I'd be practicing in the gym, and everybody kind of look at me a little cross-haired, and they wouldn't know what the heck I was doing. You know, one now, two, two. You know, just practice. And then finally, it just stuck, and I went and talked with Bob, and you know, Bob was very kind, and he says, you know, Brad, you're going to have to go to college, you're going to have to go to school. You can't ride on my coattails. You're going to have to make a name for yourself. So that's what I did, and it's been a great profession. The farming deal was very good too. You know, it's just like some of these farmers are being tested right now. Secondary incomes are going to be really, really important with some of these farm operations in regards to getting through these tougher economic times. So we have to be creative, and that's what we had to do. We had to be creative to get off farm income, to wait for that better year. And it's a character builder, and it's something that's been a profession that I'm truly been blessed to have a gift to be a bid caller, but it's also a people business too. And got to meet a lot of nice people, a lot of relationships, and auctioneering and relationship building is 101.
Absolutely, because you don't call somebody to sell your stuff because you read their ad as much as when you know that person and want to work with them.
That is so true. That is so true. And it's always about backing up what you say you're going to do, and, you know, quality and the character involved in selling equipment. I don't care if it's land, family heirlooms. You got to know what you're talking about, and there's a pride in that.
Have we cleaned out the sheds? I mean, we continually hear folks saying, well, I'm going to get rid of some extra things, especially times are tight. I need to have maybe just a little something happen for cash flow. I can clean up what I'm holding on the farm. Or are we still pulling a lot of gems out of the shed, so to speak, that are hitting the auction these days?
You know, our last bi-monthly sale, we had 760 lots of machinery that were all phases. Somebody's junk is somebody else's treasure in the auction business. And you'd be surprised how the farmer mentality is. They'll park a rotary hoe in the back of their 60 by 100 building, and it'll sit there for 15 years collecting dust. But at one point in their time, they're going to say, you know what, I want to turn that into some working capital. And all farms are alike. They all save their things because they think they're going to need it in the future. And, you know, we just got to take it one piece at a time. That's what we got to do.
Oh, you are so right. Those rotary hose, band sprayers, etc., that people thought, oh, I'm just going to set it in the back because I'm not going to need it, particularly for my sugar beets for a while. And then about every 2 years, you pull one of those out and need it again.
That is so true. But just think of the guys that put their 1972 GMC pickup in the back shed and forgot about it for 50 years. Think what that's worth. So sometimes there's something to be said about money in the bank and better in the bank.
And if that GMC pickup that's been sitting in the back for a while isn't completely ratted out by the mice, life is going to be pretty good for that pickup now.
You know, I was at a farm ranch out in central North Dakota, and the gentleman had just passed away, and he was in his late 80s. And we all talk about the barn finds. And as an auctioneer, I get the privilege of going on to some of these farms and ranches for the first time, and I get to hear the family story. And this building had storm damage, so the door hadn't been open for probably 25 years. And inside that building was a 1974 Ford half-ton pickup. And it wasn't ratted out. In fact, fresh gas and a new battery, and she fired right up, and we're going to be selling that at an auction coming up. So it's always interesting in the auction profession because you get to go out to these people's places, you find some of these barn finds, and it's just always interesting because there's a story behind it. Why was it parked there? I got something different. They wouldn't give me enough when I wanted to trade it in, or I saved it for my grandson and he turned out he didn't want it. So there's always a story, and that's what makes it so interesting.
I'm going to have to send you a podcast I just listened to yesterday where it was the barn find, but it was the fastback Mustang from the movie Bullet that Steve McQueen drove. It was the original
That is cool.
Bullet. And as a car guy, I think you might like that.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'll send that over to you.
Absolutely. Please
All right.
do.
What are some of the highlights that are coming up on auction in front of you for Steffes?
I tell you, we got some nice upcoming auctions again with our bi-monthly. We're selling a nice tractor package for Black Gold Farms. It's going to be one of our highlights for tomorrow. That'll be our bi-monthly that closes at 10 a.m., so check it out. We got a lot of good pictures, things like that. We have the Boyd family land that's going to be sold in September just west of Buffalo, North Dakota. We're super excited about that. We got our crew on the road. We're booking sales coming in. You know, everybody's asking about how's the market holding up, how's the machinery values holding up. Quite frankly, they're holding up surprisingly well, especially the second and third generation pieces of equipment. The 1 and 2 year old equipment, like we've been talking about for the last few sessions, is being hurt. You know, it's down 40%. You know, because nobody can afford that big $600,000-$700,000 piece of equipment. But that sweet spot between $50,000 and $250,000, there's a pent up demand. And our last sale that we had 27 states presented in that auction. People were interested in bidding on that equipment. So quality and condition still sells.
It absolutely does. And keep your eye out because those gems will appear sooner than you might imagine. Brad, thank you so much for being here today with Steffes Group to have on the auction block. We do that twice a month. Max Steffes joins us once. Brad Olstad joins us the second time, and we appreciate it every time you do.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
All right, stick around, folks. We're going to visit with North Dakota Ag Commissioner Doug Goehring next. We want to talk about some history in the state of North Dakota in agriculture. We have been celebrating America's 250th birthday, and there's nothing more to celebrate bigger, better than what we do in agriculture. As you've heard in the FFA Creed, we are the backbone of America, and North Dakota plays a very prominent, strong role in that whole history lesson as well as going forward in the future. We're joined by Ag Commissioner Doug Goehring to talk about our history. And as many would realize, we have to take the good with the bad. Now, history tells us this might not be the baddest era we've had, but how's our optimism out there amongst our farmers and ranchers, Commissioner? I think there's probably still a big sign of resiliency waiting for next year.
There is. I would say overall, I mean, who would do this job if you didn't have a lot of faith? Quite frankly, you don't control the markets, you don't control the weather. You have to get up every day and look to the good Lord and say, "Oh, you got to give me strength because this doesn't look good." So, and I kind of think too, you know, God didn't crown David king. He gave him a Goliath to begin with, and eventually he grew into the man he was. So it seems like that's how we deal with it in agriculture too. But yeah,
We
challenging and interesting.
Well, and our history may repeat itself. Good winters, bad winters, and so much more. And as a
Yeah.
gentleman who is very well versed in the history of the state, what are some of those earliest recollections that are in our history as of North Dakota in regards to, well, what may not have been seen as always the best?
Well, thankfully we had people like the Marquis de Morris and Theodore Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt actually wrote quite a bit, but they journaled, they documented, and they talk about in the 1880s, 1890s, even before we were a state, 1886, 87, they talk about severe blizzard that actually killed 60 to 75% of the livestock in Western North Dakota that year. And think about it, there was some things that were the precursor to that made it worse. They had a drought that summer, so the cattle were in poor condition when they went into the winter, and then they just had repeated severe blizzards out there. And when you think about their situation, Western North Dakota and into Montana, they do a lot of open range grazing. So if you get those types of conditions in that scenario, that's why we lost so many livestock, and we certainly went through some really tough times. We didn't personally, but ranchers did back then. It did force, though, a change in how we started to ranch and do some things different, start to do a little more planning. There still is the open range concept, but there was a lot more work and planning that went into how are we going to mitigate when we have issues and problems for the ranching and the livestock industry.
And Commissioner, what do you think the biggest thing we've learned from, back in the bridging things back from the 1800s, early 1900s to today? Yeah, I mean, you mentioned, the blizzard's killing all the livestock. What have we learned from then to now?
Well, maybe nutrition is certainly a big deal, but there's
Right.
a lot more work that certainly goes into um, what what do we need to do to manage that cow herd well, and how do we mitigate some of those issues? Shelter, everybody talks about how come cattle aren't in shelters. Um, Sometimes just having a windbreak for them is a good thing, not necessarily putting them in a building. We learned, I mean, I was going to mention this as we get into it. I was going to kind of go through some timelines here, but 1966, a
Mm-hmm.
major winter storm hit North Dakota, and we lost almost 77,000 head of livestock,
Mm.
like 2,400 head of pigs, 50 some thousand head of sheep. I mean, buildings were collapsing on the animals that were inside, and they were being buried. They were killed. We had some situations where livestock, the wind just pushed them, and they kept going, and pretty soon they were miles away and got stranded and died. But those are some tough conditions. But you think about agriculture, I think going back to what Bridgette's question was, start to walk through what we've dealt with. North Dakota has not only been resilient, we've tried to mitigate in many different ways. We had a farm financial crisis in 1893 that put tremendous pressure on the agricultural industry. We were dealing with 40 cents a bushel for wheat. Um, we saw remarkable adaptability. And you think about how egg producers respond to these things, how they deal with those things. And you think about those different periods of time that we've dealt with those crises. Eggs always been there trying to find a way to mitigate, manage, adapt, overcome, and they've done a pretty decent job. And then you move forward. Think about um, World War One. By
Hmm.
World War One, we had we had to start producing food for our country because we're going to war. We're producing it for our allies. But you know what the bad thing at that time, and generally when you look at these scenarios, oh, we need a lot of food. Yeah, we did. But at that period of time, we were having serious issues with weather. So we weren't
Hmm.
producing at those levels that we really could have taken advantage of. We had strong prices, but we didn't necessarily have the ability to experience all those. And yet we were going through other transitions, more mechanization. You're seeing farmers expanding. You're seeing they taking on extra debt, buying land. Um, and it was just it was a time in our country where you start thinking ahead, and like we always do when times are good, oh, maybe we're setting a new plateau. Things are going to be a little bit better from here on out. Let's do some planning. um, it's just interesting how we as a human population address issues, and sometimes we do it really well, sometimes we have to learn a couple lessons.
If we think about that boom and bust cycle, especially after World War One, that was about the time frame we established the Bank of North Dakota. And for
Yes.
farmers at the time, that was, and I know this is completely off the topic we were talking about, but at the time, that had to be a pretty big support system for North Dakota farmers to have our own state bank and continue to do so today.
Yes. And great point, because what we were dealing with at the time when we went through this agricultural depression and feeling these pressures and strain is we had increased debt from land that was being purchased, equipment
Hmm.
operating, and yet we were forced to deal with banks in Chicago and Minneapolis, and they weren't lending money for a farm mortgage. They generally wanted to have some other role in that. And if they did lend you money and credit, it was at terms that weren't very nice, weren't very reasonable. Fast forward though, Bank of North Dakota was established in 1919, I believe it was. Sometimes I got
Yes,
to go back and look at this stuff.
that's okay. I
And
checked.
and you know, that was the first opportunity for our producers to access credit, which helped them actually provided some stability and helped them manage through some of those more difficult times. Then in 1922, because we just recently celebrated 100 years of the state mill and elevator, that was another opportunity to get away from high freight costs and moving our wheat into a Minneapolis mill where it seemed like we were being taken advantage of. So we've had these wonderful opportunities where North Dakota has stepped up, provided more of an opportunity, stability to create resilience for a lot of our producers, and many in the upper Midwest benefit from the decisions we've made, especially with state mill and elevator. But the Bank of North Dakota is awesome for what we do to help mitigate disasters, to mitigate droughts, and just bad situations when you have huge livestock losses or potential dispersions.
Commissioner, I have a listener question that was just texted into me, and this is just curious. What do we, if we know any information on drought disaster assistance or declarations because of what's been happening statewide? Now, last week there was an announcement made about a livestock assistance program when it comes to water, to making sure that we
Yes.
can get wells, pumps, etc. Is there something in addition to that that we should be aware of?
So the federal government and most everything that's out there that's available is going to be federal government programs, and they're always tied back to a bureaucratic framework that generally states you have to have certain things take place, and at that time it will trigger eligibility for different programs, whether it's emergency livestock assistance program, livestock forage program, emergency haying and grazing. There are some things that have taken place, and I don't have an updated list on what the
That's fine.
emergency haying and grazing is, but I wanted to say I believe there's something like close to 30 counties that are eligible right now under the emergency haying and grazing. The other programs are all tied back to hitting certain, um, you have to hit like a D2 drought for 4 weeks, or a D3 automatically
Okay.
makes you eligible, D1, 7 weeks. And I may have those off. So please don't send me an email and say, God, you didn't even get that right. Well, they're not our programs.
No, they're
I'm
not.
not
They're
trying to give
federal.
excuses. Yeah. And the other thing is, I've had questions about, well, can the state step up and do something? Here's the problem. We created the emergency livestock transportation program years ago,
Hmm.
back in 2009, and we've used that. I want to say half a dozen times over the last 18 years. The feds found out about that program, and in 2021 they took it from the state of North Dakota. I say take it like they stole it. They didn't, but they adopted it, and they are using it at a national level now. The problem with that is states generally will not duplicate a program that the federal government has. They may not like the terms, some of the terms and eligibility requirements, but it's not fair to the taxpayer, to the public, to turn around and have the state implement the same type of program. It can be considered double dipping, or it's got problems. So there are a handful of programs that the states have actually created that the feds now have, and you won't probably see states step up and intervene. Our water program works well. It helps with a cost share assistance at 65%, up to $10,000, help you establish a well, do a pasture hookup, pipelines, just to get water to livestock. It's essential, it's needed.
So, Commissioner Goehring, thank you for the history lesson. I'm sorry that we got way off track, but
We
I
got
also
that.
really appreciate I really appreciate you'll answer listener questions like we had here during the segment. So,
Yeah,
thank you for that.
you bet. It was great. Thank you.
All right, when we come back, we're going to recap what it looks like for the rest of the weekend And what about our rain chances? Are we going to see any rainfall? We sure need it. We'll run down the details coming up here right after the break. And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus, 1:54 in the afternoon. And some breaking news, Addison. You had gotten in my ear when we were on our last discussion, and I heard Dolly Parton, but that's all I heard. And Dolly Parton just passed away.
Yes, it's a sad day. Dolly Parton has passed away at the age of 80, I believe, as well.
I know she was sick, wasn't she? I mean, she had some ongoing illness, I believe. I could be wrong. I don't think it was sudden.
I'm not sure. Bridget, do you know anything about that?
I thought she was in pretty good health, but I'm not sure. Well, when you're 80, what might go wrong? All of it.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's
Sneeze you throw out your back.
the truth. Yeah. So, I mean, she lived to 80. That's commendable in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Dean, you should know I got a message from a listener. Due to the lack of rain, they're scheduling a protest outside of the studios for next week, unless we could get something to change, please.
Well, feel free to protest. Just don't make it a violent protest. But hey, I don't blame you. Hey, we need the rain, and like I said, we're seeing chances of rain in the forecast. Unfortunately, these are hit and miss storms where if you get caught under a band of these storms like last night, you're looking at 1 to 2 inches. You don't want what they had in rugby the other night where you're getting 8 inches and flooding basements. That's a little too much, but we need a good widespread soaking, and I am seeing signs of that as we turn the corner into September, which let's hope so, but today we're looking at a breezy day out there, and conditions are on the dry side and will continue that way. There's a few light showers along the U.S.-Canadian border stretching into northwest Minnesota, but those are going to stay well to our north. We'll have highs today in the low 80s, pretty much where they're at right now, and those northwest winds at 15 to 30. Then tonight we'll clear things out. We'll turn the winds lighter. We'll drop down to a low around 60, and tomorrow breezy, not as windy as today, northwest 10 to 20, and mostly sunny and highs again in the lower 80s, and we'll stay in the lower 80s through the end of the week. Next chance of rain comes Friday night. Again, it's going to be hit and miss as a warm front comes through, and then that will lead to a hot Saturday, mid to upper 80s on Saturday, and then Sunday will stay in the 80s. Another possibility of some scattered storms Sunday night, but I think later next week we do stand the chance of seeing a few more showers and thunderstorms, a few more of these storm systems coming through. But anything widespread, just not seeing it. It was funny. I posted this on my social media today. Our American model, not known for its accuracy, for Labor Day had snow in the northwestern part of the state. That's obviously not going to happen, but I kind of chuckled when I saw that. But what that shows is we are going to see some changes as we head towards Labor Day. Obviously not that drastic though.
Well, we know that there's going to be some swings in weather, but maybe not quite that one as of yet.
Not just yet. It'll be coming soon enough, but not just yet.
But if you decide you don't want to have anything to do with the weather, well, pay attention, especially after 2 o'clock today during the Jay Thomas Show. You have the opportunity to be registered to potentially win the Ultimate Gridiron Getaway in Vegas, brought to us by United Valley Bank, where our roots make us stronger. What's going to happen is you get qualified to win the opportunity for round-trip airfare for 2 from Fargo to Vegas, 3-night hotel stay, and tickets to watch one of our favorite football teams play UNLV on October 10th at the Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. Now, once you get registered, you still have to join us on September 14th. You've got to be there between 5:15 and 6:15 to make sure you're registered for the finals. And then around 8 o'clock that night, we're going to announce the big winner. So be ready to roll for that. Pay attention when you hear the sounder during the next show. You're going to want to call in and get registered.
Yeah, and I'll be out at Rose Creek on Thursday from 2 to 4. You can register out there as well. So that'll do it for today's Weather and Ag in Focus. Thank you for joining us. Don't go anywhere. The Jay Thomas Show, it's coming up next.